These are medical glasses. I'm not trying to look cool. Meta seems to be having like a branding crisis moment, and so they have a pop-up survey, and I want to talk about it because it's very interesting. So like I say crisis because like this is the first question in their survey. They want to know who we think owns Instagram, and I was just like, oh, this interesting. I don't really think it's worth obsessing over this question, but as a note, a company could be owned and operated by different people, and people might think that Instagram is not owned and operated by the same entity, so I wouldn't say owns and operated. And to really nitpick, I would put don't know, unsure at the very bottom or the very top. Very top would be my preference because it's easier. Like if you don't know, just click you don't know, but they might be like, oh, read through these options first and like make your best guess. The others shouldn't go after it. That doesn't make sense. Anyway, you put this together. Then the grand reveal, they're like, oh, Meta owns us. And then they ask you to agree or disagree with the following statement. Meta is good for the world. And this was when I started feeling like interesting that for whatever crisis is going on that necessitates this survey, we don't actually want good data. And like, why do I say that? Because I say this like, and I look at this and I'm like, there are some good things about it and there are some bad things about it, right? So like, hard for me to answer like, is it good for the world? It's like, it depends. It's very contextual, right? So you could imagine like such a richer set of data. So if you had asked something slightly different, even something like, how often do you think like Meta is good for the world? Never, sometimes, always, right? Or add more complex answer choices, right? But then you get a frequency and it's like, oh, well, sometimes people think it's good, sometimes think it's bad. You can imagine a scenario where they do this and like break it down by feature. Like, do you think this feature is good for the world or bad for the world? Or where they list a bunch of like outcomes that they attribute to people using Meta because you know they have them, and be like, do you think this is good or do you think this is bad? So many possibilities here that get at this idea of like, do people think it's good or bad, but at like a more specific granular level where they could take that information and actually do something with it. This again, this is like a feel good, feel bad question. Be like, oh, everyone thinks we're bad for the world, or like, yay, people think we're great, but what are you gonna do with that? And a lot of us might be inclined to just be like, no, it's not good. But I think like sometimes it fosters connection for me, and that is a good thing. And wouldn't they want to know that? They're not going to get it from this. The next question. Overall, do Meta's apps and products bring people together or create divisions among people? Again, like we're getting no opportunity for nuance here. Again, I think personally, I'm like, Facebook to me, clusterfuck. So much division in my experience. Instagram, like, I don't see as much division. I see more community there. So like, we're not capturing the potential nuance. Like we're forcing people to be very binary, like yes, no, all or nothing. That type of thinking does not make for good data. Not information that you could use to make decisions. So I ask, what the fuck is the point of this survey? They are paying to administer on a very expensive survey platform.